Is it time to exit that toxic job and move abroad? This is for Black women in toxic jobs. I'm so excited to have two women who have inspired me so much to help liberate Black women. So we have Stephanie Perry and Roshida Dowe here with us. They are the co-creators of the Exodus Summit. So we're going to talk a lot more about what is the Exodus Summit and how can you register. If you see already, I have this the scroll going across the screen. So you can register already. Okay. So make sure that you register before this live is over for the Exodus Summit. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. And I'm also the co-creator with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, which helps Black women prepare to leave a toxic job, learn how to replace their income, what to do about their health insurance, their retirement, all those things. That is available on replay. That information is in the description section. So I'm so excited to have Stephanie Perry and Roshida Dowe here. Many of you have heard me talk about Stephanie, particularly I was in her YouTube Success Society, and she's actually the reason why I have a YouTube channel and why it's grown and now it's monetized. And she was the one who really inspired me to talk about toxic jobs on YouTube. So, Stephanie likes to get her flowers. So I'm giving her flowers. Okay, so let's have my guests introduce themselves. So Stephanie, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hello, friends. My name is Stephanie Perry. I'm one of the co-creators of Exodus Summit. I have not had a traditional job since September 2015, when I thought I was taking a year off from work. And I have not, this is the first time in my adult life, which, I was 41 in 2015. This was the first time in my adult life when I did not have like a job that was that could determine where I was in the world, where I had to be at certain times, first time I was free. I'm very glad to be here.
Free.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome, Stephanie. Roshida.
Hi, my name is Roshida Dowe. I'm the co-founder of Exodus Summit. I have not had a traditional job since April of 2018, when I took off to travel the world for a year, left a toxic job behind, and have been all the better for it over the years.
Yes. So thank you, ladies. So both of them are going to talk about their own experiences with leaving a toxic job. And not only have they left a toxic job, they are liberating other Black women in so many different ways. And if you see them, they're glowing because they don't have a toxic job. They are creating a life for themselves. And again, they are helping to lift up other Black women in the process. So Stephanie, I quote you a lot on my videos where I talk about a job is not a good job if it's harming you, or if you're accessing your healthcare benefits because the job is making you sick, that a lot of times these jobs are fruit of the slavery tree. Now, I've quoted you a lot. So can you speak from your own voice about your own words? Can you tell us more about those quotes?
All jobs are a means to an end. We treat jobs, especially in this country, because of the foundation of slavery, we treat jobs as if they are the thing, as if they're the sun in our solar system, as if they are our purpose, when jobs are just a means to an end, right? A job is just supposed to be a way for you to get some money, maybe a network, some skills, right? But the job is not supposed to take over your life. If the job takes over your life, it's because you live in a country where people were viewed as workers and still are, right? Where people were brought here to be workers and not humans. And you may still, friends, be living your life as if you're a worker and not a human.
Yeah.
And so that's why, and I believe that's fruit of the slavery tree. I believe that because I've been to enough places in the world. I haven't been to every country in the world, but I've been all around the world. And I do see the real difference between a person who is a person who was brought up in the United States and has that idea that the work is who they are, and a person who does not absolutely identify themselves as a worker and does not identify with the work that they do. So a job is supposed to be a means to an end. Get yourself what you came to get from that job, and then leave that job. If that job is not giving you anything, it's not giving you the network, it's not giving you the skill set, or if the things it's giving you are not on par with what it's taken from you, leave that job. It's not a good job. That's not how possibly be a good job if it's harming you. Not possible.
Exactly. So all the money, whatever you can get there, it doesn't matter if you're dying inside, if you dread any day of your life. So it's not worth it. So I've actually had both of you on separately interviewing you about your toxic job experiences. So it's a treat to have both of you together. So Roshida, why don't I start with you in terms of what were the progression of events contributing to you kicking that toxic job to the curb?
Which one, girl? Which job?
Let's say the last one. Let's say the last.
The last one kicked me to the curb because I knew they were going out of business. And so I had a 6-month runway of they were going out of business, but they got worse as like they were bad and it was toxic and I didn't want to be there. And then when they started going out of business, it got significantly worse because anyone who's worked with people who don't know what they're doing and like no, because like these people all got shifted from like, I'm a business person who does this thing to like, now you got to sell this company and these assets and you've never done this before. So they all got shifted into a new area of work. They don't know what they're doing. And that did not make them happier or friendlier or easier to work with. And so for the last 6 months was really rough, but there were a couple of saving graces. One was my therapist who was like, instead of doing more, just do less.
Yes, do less. Yes.
And this was 2018 before people talked about quiet quitting. But man, the way I was a terrible employee, and it was what I had to do to survive. Like I told myself that like I stopped going into the office when I realized that like my boss would walk. We didn't work in the same area, but they would enter the area where I worked and all the other staff that worked for them on that team worked and not speak to us. Not a hello on their way to the meeting, not a way back. So we could go days without him actually acknowledging us in person in the office. And I was like, well, if I can do all my work outside of the office and I only have to check in with one person and that one person doesn't acknowledge my existence in the office, what am I doing? So I stopped going in. I really took the message of doing less because I knew it was for my own mental health. I took the message to heart and I told myself I would check email 30 minutes a day, twice a day. That was it. That was it. So 30 minutes a day, twice a day. I had to force myself to do that. And that was that. So for that wasn't the whole 6 months. It was probably like the last 2 months of work. I'm doing an hour of work a day, baby. If there are no emails I need to address in the first or the second 30 minutes, I'm doing 30 minutes of work or less a day.
Wow.
And I'm getting paid. But like, if my therapist hadn't said, they're terrible people, they sound like they're never going to acknowledge the work you're doing. So why keep doing the work?
Right.
I know the mindset I was in was prove to them that you're capable.
Yes.
So something I haven't talked about online is that when my art sub company was going out of business, I worked for a larger company, and I went to our new. We had a new head attorney, and I went to him, and I said, Black man, new in the office, and I was like, hey, my sub company has gone out of business. I am one of like a handful of Black lawyers who work on this team of over 100. I'm one of a handful. Hey, I'm going out of business unless I can find a place in your organization, right, doing something here. Like I'm going to be unemployed. And he was like, oh, that sounds too bad.
Wow.
Okay, bye. And I was like, because they shifted people around all the time, right? And there wasn't even like, tell me your skill set, tell me anything. He had a job position working for him. And when I was like, what's going on with that? He was like, oh, you need someone really like senior. And the seniority he was talking about was the seniority I had. But even from a Black man, he didn't see it.
He could even tell you that, right? It was just like, I'm not giving you any information. I'm not going to help you at all.
it was very much like your employment is your business. And I was like, as the
Wow.
head of the organization I work in, this
Ooh.
is not. But months ago, when I was in my like go, go, go phase,
Mhm.
I think I would have tried to prove to him that I would be a good asset at the company.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I was like, okay,
Exit stage right. That's,
okay, okay.
that's more confirmation. I need to go.
Oh,
Yes. Thank
why
you.
not?
Thank you
Like,
for that.
if you don't care about retaining the Black attorneys, which the percentage of Black attorneys in the U.S. is ridiculous, and it's ridiculously low. If you don't care about retaining the ones you have working for you, what's it
Mhm.
going to be like working for you?
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, can I say something, Roshida? So when
Mhm.
you think about, you said so many different things I want to follow up, that I wanted to just highlight. One is that when I asked you about the toxic job, you're like, which one? So
Which
a
one?
lot of us have more than one toxic job. And I think
Mhm.
that's so common for Black women. And what I appreciate about these conversations is that I don't want Black women to start thinking, I'm the common denominator, it must be
Mhm.
me. It's racism, sexism, that is everywhere.
Mhm.
So let's not personalize it. The other
Mhm.
thing you said was your therapist, I love therapists because I'm a therapist too,
Mhm.
but you said that your therapist helped you reality test. Like, girl, these people are crazy. You need
Crazy.
to do less. And
Yes.
so knowing when this is happening, the importance of us going to someone else outside of the job to talk about our experiences to reality
Mhm.
test. The
Mhm.
third thing is really important too, because I hear this from a lot of Black women. I did it myself, trying to prove them, trying to prove your worth, trying to
Mhm.
prove that you're a hard worker to the
Mhm.
expense of your health. So you had the opportunity to say, nope, okay, I see the writing on the wall. I'm out of here.
Mhm.
So how did the thought of moving abroad come about though?
I have always loved traveling, and I told myself that I'd seen people travel for a while, come back and get a job, travel for a while, come back and get a job. And I thought, if for me, if not now, when? Right? Like it sounds a little irresponsible. I don't know. But my lease was up. I got laid off at the end of April. My lease was up like April 27th. My lease was up May 1st. Uh, I wasn't in a relationship. I had a dog. And that was the only thing that was like holding me. And when I thought about, honestly, I have never said this before ever. I don't know if I've ever acknowledged this before, but now that I think about it, leaving was easier than staying in the life I had and trying to rebuild it. They were raising my rent like 20 something percent. What I look like committing to like a $3,000 a month lease when I don't have a job, right?
Right, right,
What is
right.
that?
And trying to stay at a job, trying to prove your worth when you already saw all the writing on the wall
Right.
that this was not going to be good, it was going to get worse.
Getting a new job. So either I could get a new job, which would probably, because I've had some toxic jobs, I know this next one might be toxic too.
More than likely.
So I would have to work to get a new job. I would have to either get a new apartment or pay this exorbitant rent. I would have to do all
Yeah.
these things. And it was like, I could just put my stuff in my storage and pack a suitcase and go. And honestly,
Mhm.
it was simpler. And I
Yeah.
think that for me, that's the reason that the fear wasn't really there. I was
Ah.
more afraid of being homeless in the Bay Area than I was of,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. I remember interviewing Angela Kinu, and she said she was more scared of who she would become if she stayed there,
Mhm.
if she kept staying at a toxic job. So for you, it's like you might think it's reckless, but I'm saving myself. And it just
Yeah.
doesn't make any financial sense to keep
Yeah.
going to these
No.
toxic situations.
And I was already the person who had been toxic. I was a person Angela was scared of becoming. I was a person who had stayed in toxic. I was already there. I'd been in
Oh,
the toxic jobs too long, and I was the like, everything is terrible. Kind of not like I didn't necessarily think that, but I think I
yeah.
acted like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So you start dreading your life. And the
Mhm.
other thing too is what's disturbing is sometimes you start becoming a different person. You're like, this is
Mhm.
not even me. Like, who am I? Right? Thank you, Rashida. What about for you, Stephanie? What were the progression of events that contributed to you leaving that toxic job and moving abroad?
On a previous job, I walked in so maybe trigger warning, I guess. Okay. On a previous job, I walked in after coming back from FMLA a baby. And there was a brand new management team in, which was normal. I worked in a place where there was a lot of turnover. And so she the same person who was there when I went out on FMLA, even though I was probably gone for 2 or 3 weeks. And she said to me, well, my sister had a miscarriage and she didn't miss any work. Right.
Ooh.
And from then on, she made it her mission to just be the worst to me every day. So one day I just walked in and quit that job. That was the beginning of me. And this was years ago. This was in my early 20s. That was the beginning of me being like, forget these. That was the beginning of me being like, I not make jobs more important than they should be. Right. So then almost 20 years later, I'm still working, right? And I'm in a different job. And I just didn't have a full life. The job wasn't the worst. It just ate up too much of my life. I worked night shift in a hospital. And small things just really made me mad about the job. I would put in a vacation request for days that I'd earned. I'd request 5. Right? They give me 3 days and not 3 consecutive days. And then they'd be like, no, you need to go to each one of your coworkers. Everybody needs to rearrange their schedule if you want these other days off. Right. So it was a lot of small things that are done to everyone. That is the way a lot of employers just operate in the United States. But because I had already had that experience in my early 20s, I was not willing to sacrifice for a job when I knew a job wasn't going to do any kind of sacrificing or wasn't going to give me any grace, right? Wasn't going to show me any kindness or softness. And I was going to reciprocate that, right? I'm going to reciprocate that. So I decided that I was going to spend a year traveling because literally it was easier to quit my job and travel full time for a year than it was to get a couple of weeks vacation approved. Right?
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. Yes.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They're hoarding or they're holding on to your benefits because they know that we don't have a whole lot of recourse. What am I going to do? Nobody who's going to say, so-and-so, you need to approve your people's vacation. They have a full system. The whole system in the US is basically set up on how few people can we pay to do a lot of people's work.
Exactly.
Right? So I had no recourse. It was easier for me to quit my job, travel for a year than for just to take the vacation time that I had earned. And so that was the beginning of me never going back to jobs. Once I got out, a full year where I got to travel the world, got to be with myself, I realized I couldn't go back to I couldn't go back to work in that way. I couldn't go back to having a traditional job, even with a really thoughtful employer, but definitely not with the type of employer I was likely to get.
Yes. Okay. So you said something and I want to follow up on that and then go to the next question. So you talked about, and I know this is one of your quotes too, these jobs ain't loyal. So you recognize these jobs are not looking out for me. So why should I look out for this job? But what's so interesting is I hear Black women say this. I've never said this, but I've heard Black women say, I can't leave because this job will fall apart without me being here. Or they wouldn't even know what to do if I wasn't here. Can you all speak to that? I hear that way too much from Black women.
We identify, we're overly connected to our work, fruit of the slavery tree. Okay. We connect with our work. Part of it is because we tend to go into roles as a helper. You know, we're good people. Black women, we're good people. We're the best people. And so we go in these helper roles, and maybe we have seen what happens if we don't do it, nobody does it. And so we really sincerely believe that we are holding the walls up, but if you drop dead on your job, they will replace you immediately.
Absolutely.
The way that you see yourself not the way your job sees you. You're a worker, right? You're there, you're a worker. And if something happens, or if you just decide to leave, they will bring in another worker. They will replace you immediately. Your life, giving your life to your work is, you're throwing this away. You're throwing away your time. You've given your life to your work in a way that they are not reciprocating, right? They're not paying you back for that. You're throwing away your time.
Yeah, it reminds me of those two stories that recently came out. One, the woman at Wells Fargo who died in her cubicle and they didn't know till 4 days later. And then the
Mhm.
man who went up to the mountain on a retreat and his coworkers left him up there and didn't call anybody for 24 hours. Like that kind of stuff, 8 hours, but still, like that kind of craziness. Why are we loyal to these jobs if we are not really taking that seriously?
Mhm.
So, ladies, can you all talk about how did you make that pivot? How did you go from, okay, I'm leaving this job to I'm moving abroad? What were the steps that you took?
So when I did it, I told you I took a career break. I traveled the world for a year. In that, I had been to Mexico City a few times before that, and on that break, I went a couple times. And I just decided that that's where I want. The first part was just deciding. I decided I didn't want to live in the U.S. for the foreseeable future. It wasn't like the rest of my life decision. It was right now. Where do I want to be? I don't want to be in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in Mexico City. I went into a Facebook group. I started looking for people who were talking about apartments. I found a woman who was living in a co-living space. I asked her if she liked it. She said she did. I packed my bags. I showed up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
think that was all the steps I took. I was
Yeah.
there on a tourist visa, right? But that my plan was eventually I'll do more steps. But right now, that's all I did.
Okay. So you did like a scouting first and then,
None of my trips were scouting trips. It was really just I want to visit. I want to see it. And
okay.
then every time I visited, I really liked it. So I kept going back. And then on one of the trips, I was like, I could see myself living here.
Okay.
And then I just didn't really care about the neighborhood or anything. It was just like, you live here, you like the neighborhood, you like the apartment you're living in, you like the landlord. If there's an empty room, done. I'm in there, and I'll figure out the rest. I think I was booked for 3 months, and then like went month to month after that.
Mm-hmm.
Took the
Wow.
time. Yeah.
Okay. How'd you do that, Stephanie?
I technically have not moved to Costa Rica, even though I've been spending the half the year for the last 3 years in Costa Rica. So for
Mhm.
me, it was just a matter of where do I want to be for the next chunk of time. I haven't lived in the United States since 2015, but I've been on the road. I'm a house sitter. I am, a person who works from the laptop. So I've just been from place to place, sometimes as often as every 3 months, right? From country to country. And for me, it was just really, I came back from the 1 year sabbatical. I did go back to work for 3 months. Even though I said that was my last time having a traditional job, I did go back for 3 months, but I knew as soon as I was going to leave once I got a little bit of money in the bank, right? So I came back, worked for 3 months, got a little money in the bank, and got a little plan together, and then left again. And when you're not moving someplace, like you don't need to get residency, and when you don't need to get like utilities and you don't need to navigate things, it's really easy to just land somewhere and start being there. I'm in an Airbnb right now. I've been in this Airbnb for weeks now. And I'm just here. I have a grocery store I go to, right? I got a grocery store I like. I got a coffee shop I like. Rashida's been there. It's like a restaurant and cafe that I like, right? It was really easy for me to land here because I've done it in the easiest way, right? I'm gonna do as little as possible. And for me, that meant just show up there. However long they give you on that tourist visa, that's how long you're going to stay. Eventually, I will be a resident here, but right now, the move here really was as easy as book an Airbnb, make sure that I know how many days I can stay, and then see what happens after that.
And kind of test it out and see what it's like. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So when I talk to Black women, and even for myself, the biggest issues that kept me at a toxic job was the fear of what would happen if I left, what was going to do about my income, my health insurance, my retirement, all those different things. Did you all have those fears as well? And how did you address these possible fears you had about those issues, which is so common for Black women?
I was working in a really interesting niche in that there weren't a lot of people who did what I did, but there also weren't a lot of jobs, people who were doing what I was doing. So I was in a situation of when this job is over, I can try to find another job doing exactly what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Or when I come back, I can try to find a job doing exactly what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a very good chance I worked in auto. There's a very good chance it's going to be in a place I don't want to live. I don't want to live in Detroit. I already live in Columbus. It's too cold. I don't want to be in Detroit. That don't make sense. That's not the right direction, right? There's some options in Texas, but I don't really want to be in Texas either. And so it was there when I want a job, there may not be any jobs available. But when there's a job available, it's mine. That's what I knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when is someone going to leave the industry that people stay in forever? Anyone's ever worked in auto finance knows those people don't leave, right? They do not. I was like, it could be years. I don't know. But I'm dying now.
Oh.
My mental health is real shaky.
Yeah.
Right? I am unhappy.
Yeah.
And staying because of the fear of what might or might not happen on the back end isn't going to make me healthier. It's not going to make me happier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so yes, the fear was there. Yes, the fear was valid.
Mm-hmm.
But today was bad, right? Like tomorrow might be bad or it might not be bad, but today is bad.
Yeah, I'm just trying to hang on right now. I'm just trying to survive.
And that's when I knew it was time to go, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly, I put my stuff in storage, I left, and I kind of put blinders on to what would happen later. Because if I spent too long thinking about it, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You talk yourself out of it.
I'm a responsible adult. What do you mean no working for a year? That don't make sense, right?
Yeah.
It took me saying, whatever happens, then happens. And truly saying and even though my friends would be like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I blocked it out as noise. That was not helpful. It did not point me in a direction. It was just their fears and tapping into their fears, which were exactly my fears, which I'm trying to ignore. So help me, right?
You're amplifying, right? You're helping me. Yeah. So it was you saying my mental health, my physical health is the priority here. And I can't live my life thinking about what might happen in the future, and to know we have options. So I think a lot of Black women automatically think that this is the only place where I can get money. That is not true. That's the only place where we have life insurance or health insurance or retirement. That is not true. And so talking about options, but I think so many of us have been programmed to think that. What about for you, Stephanie? Did you have any fears about finances, retirement, health insurance?
Absolutely. So I knew that I would be able to get another job. If I wanted to come back and be a pharmacy technician again, I knew I could get another job. So I had the opposite. My fears were that I would get sick, right? That I would run out of money, or that I would just not like this new thing, right? That I'm leaving this job, I'm going to travel for a while. What if I just don't like it? Well, all of those things came true. Every single one of my worst fears came true. And you know what? They were not that bad, because I was living already the worst case scenario. I thought getting sick abroad would be the worst case scenario, but actually the worst case scenario was what I was living then, right? Of being mad that I woke up every day. It's the worst case scenario. Sitting home all hours of the day, sitting home with a calculator calculating, now how many more of this exact day do I need to live through before I can get to 65 and then start living, right?
Like Groundhog
That was the worst.
Like every day it's the same day. Like, oh God, I'm doing this again.
Again, just mad, right? So the fears that I had, what if I get sick? What if I run out of money? What if I don't like this new life? All of those things actually happened, and none of them were as bad as the life that I had already been living.
Yes.
I got sick. I was abroad, and thankfully I was in the Philippines, where a lot of people speak English, and I went to a hospital and a doctor treated me, and it was less than $40, right? So I got sick, but I got sick in another country where healthcare is a right and much more accessible to the people. I ran out of money, but I ran money at the end, and I came back home and picked up a job for 3 months. not that big of a problem. You know, I'm not saying you don't sweat when you see your bank account getting lower and lower, but well, you know, I knew that having dollars meant that I was going to, you know, call my mom, dad, or pull out. Really, what I'll do is pull out the credit cards first, and then call my mom and dad. Right? I didn't. It wasn't like I don't have any money and now I sleep on the streets. Right.
Right.
And then there were times when I even didn't like it. Even today, here in Costa Rica, I just don't like it. But I don't like it is still better than I hate it.
Ooh, yes.
So all those fears came true. Lots of fear, lots of fear.
Yeah.
Lots of fears actually came true, and they were still better than where I was before.
Yeah. And even if the fears come true, like health insurance, like I got sick, but so many of us have been fed the lie that the US is the best healthcare in the world. And so we think that if we get sick somewhere else, oh my God, it's like lights out. But that's not true. That's not true.
It's not lights out.
Yeah, the healthcare is probably better and it's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. So Roshida, you talked about fears, right? So your friends projecting fears onto you. And I'm just wondering, like, did family members project fears onto you? And in what ways did you kind of set a boundary, or how did you address that? Like for me, when I was getting ready to leave my toxic job, I knew my mother did not understand that, right? So I just stopped talking to her about it. I didn't say a thing about it till 6 months after I left. So how did you address that? Because I think Black women might have the thought, but then they talk to other people and then they start projecting those fears. So how did you address that?
I'm very good at not talking to people. Very excellent. It is a skill set I have. And so I just didn't talk. If people weren't supportive, I just didn't talk to them at all. Not even that we didn't talk about that, but like at all. Because if you start heading down that path of, you know, I was thinking about what you're doing and I got to hang up on you. Like, well, I'm stuck trying to, I don't owe anyone the effort of protecting their feelings about my life.
True. And you're the only person who has to live your life, right?
Right?
Yeah.
And so if, you know, I'm going to be nice to you about your life. And be nice to you might be like ignoring what you're doing because, baby girl, you got that. It's got nothing to do with me, right? But yeah, for my own life, if you can't get on board, you got to step to the side.
Okay. So you're able to set the boundaries in that way. And okay, did some people kind of like push back when you tried to set the boundaries or
I would say where the pushback came is when I became a different person. Because I'm very good at boundaries. If I don't want, like, I wouldn't know if you push back. If I don't want to talk to you, I don't even know if you push back.
Okay.
I don't know that. I have no vision to it, right? But when I became a happier, healthier, more whole person, I had relationships start falling apart.
Okay. So you may lose people in the process, basically.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the ways that I used to bond with people, I can't do that anymore. Like, I can't bond with us about complaining about your jobs.
Right.
Because we're not having a race to the bottom of who's got the worst boss. Because now I'm in the group chat on the phone call, like, oh, it sounds terrible. And next month when we have this talk again, it's going to be the same conversation about the same boss because you ain't do nothing. Yeah. And I'm not saying that because I've had toxic jobs for a long time. I know it's not that easy, but like now that I'm out of it, I don't want to be brought back to that conversation.
You're in a different place.
Or that space. Especially like old coworkers from the same, you're still in the same job that was toxic to me. I don't want to talk about that place.
Yeah.
Other people, I think me being happy was too much of a mirror for them, for what they didn't have.
Oh, that's profound. That is profound, right? It was like, it was a sign that they could get out, but they were making a choice to stay. And you were the reminder of that, of what could be, but they were too fearful to make that step, those steps.
Okay, so I'm not going to say too fearful because, you know, different people's situations are different. So it wasn't always like work situations. It was more like people I just know in life who started getting real funny acting, real funny acting,
Hmm.
about my happiness, my non-traditional successes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can be successful because you've done all the things you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But how dare I be successful when I've taken this alternate path?
Mm-hmm.
And I've literally heard a version of that. And so, yes, people switched up on me, and that has to be okay,
Yeah.
right? I'm not one to dwell on it. I'm one to say, like, heard,
Yeah.
understood.
Yeah.
We're not where we used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I am okay with it. I hope you are too.
Yeah, it's recognizing that sometimes people are in our lives for a season
Yes.
and being okay with that and knowing that now you're more conscious of making a choice of surrounding yourselves with people who really pour into you, not people who project things onto you or make you feel bad. So, Stephanie, what about, I've heard you say before that your parents were like, has she lost her mind? So, can you talk a little bit about maybe projected fears of family, friends, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, my mom thought that I was having a breakdown when I decided to step away from things, not realizing that I was on the path to a breakdown in before I decided to step away, right?
Oh,
I
wow.
knew it was right for me to leave because I felt that is when I felt more whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once I started working on this exit plan, I felt like I was on a healing path, not
Mm-hmm.
on that breakdown path. But yeah, my mom thought I was having a breakdown. It was really scary for me to be like, you know what? I quit. I'm not doing it like this anymore. I'm gonna do it like this now. When she didn't have any examples of anybody doing it like this now, she knew one way. My mom was Miss Black Excellence Delaware, right?
Mm-hmm.
She went to college and graduate school, and she was a foster mom, and she was an ordained minister, and she preached
Wow.
and she taught Sunday school, and right. And so for me to be like, actually, all of these things that we're told we're supposed to be striving for, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
interested in any of them,
Wow.
right? I just want to be happy. I just want to float around the world for a little while. I want to try some new stuff, try some things I'm not even good at yet, right?
Mm,
That was very scary for her.
yeah.
But I didn't have to convince her, right? I'm a grown up. I didn't have to convince anybody that what I was doing was right. I felt good. I felt so good. I think if I had been more uncertain
Mm-hmm.
about not, I'm not saying I wasn't afraid, but I'm saying I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't uncertain. If I had
Mm-hmm.
been more uncertain, I probably would have spent a lot of time trying to justify it to people
Mm.
while I'm trying to justify it to myself. But I
Um,
really felt peace about what I was doing. And
yeah.
so I didn't try to convince anybody, including my own parents, right? Let
Okay.
them be afraid, let them be nervous, let them be worried. They'll work it out however they're going to work it out.
Mm-hmm. But still move forward,
Move
right? They can feel what they want to feel, but still move forward.
move forward. That's right. That's right.
Okay. Okay. So can you all share a little bit about what does your life look like now? So now that you have left these toxic jobs, you're living abroad, what does your life look like now? And then we're going to talk about Exodus Summit soon.
My life is easy in a way that I didn't know life could be easy. Like, I have a mother who worked multiple jobs, single mom, who was always had to work, right? Like, I can't go to your track meet because I have to be at work. I can
Yeah.
even like on the weekends, I can't do this because I'm exhausted from work.
Yeah.
And I started working at 12.
Mm.
So all I knew was like the importance of work in
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
And work ain't easy, right? Like, most of the time it is not.
Yeah.
It's not built. People always act like if your work is easy, you're not working hard enough or you're not doing enough, right? You should be dying in a warehouse because they won't put air conditioning in, right? And so that's what work should look like in the American
Mm-hmm.
imagination.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
should be, if you're a fast food worker, you should be working for $3 and be grateful because it's a kid's job, right? Like, work is not just the people at the top,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people in America think work should be tremendously hard and you should get paid
Mm-hmm.
nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they think that helps besides the richest of the rich, but a different point.
And that we could keep working no matter what, even when we're sick, even when you have to just wait until you're 65 to retire.
Listen,
Yeah, we all fed this lie. Yeah.
When the government was like, if you have COVID, you can still come to work. That's when I was like, oh, they.
You don't
And
care.
when they kill us all, where do they think the new workers are going to come from?
True.
What? But the difference now from my life back then is that because I have created my work situation, I have my work partner, I never speak to anyone I don't want to speak to, which was the bane of my
What a
existence.
blessing.
What a blessing. That is my biggest flex. I never speak to anyone I don't want to speak to.
Wow.
Even if it's social and you act funny on my phone, we'll never speak again. If I walk in a room and I realize I don't like you, that's it. I'm gonna remember this and we done. In my business, I only speak to people I want to speak to. Right? And that's joyful. The work I do is joyful.
Yeah.
The way I make money is joyful. The things I get to do outside of work are joy centered. And I did not know life could be like this. I thought life had to be hard. It had to be the struggle. It had to be if this toxic job doesn't work out, am I going to be at McDonald's working for the $3 an hour? You know what I mean? Like the minimum wage.
Yeah.
Because for some reason we feel like people shouldn't work. Earning a living wage is some kind of like luxury in the US.
And if you are, you better be lucky that you have that job. Like you said before, you better be lucky. And why would you leave that good job? Because it's such a good job. Yes.
Yes. So being on this side and knowing that there's an ease in this life that I didn't know existed, that's the biggest difference. But it's also it's like the underlying message of everything I do, right? I want women to look at me and see what an easy life looks like. I want to talk to women about having an easy life, about getting more ease in their life, because it's like Black women. It's a secret that's held from Black women, right? When I talked about my therapist telling me that I needed to do less, this was a white woman, and that was the very first time I'd ever heard someone say, "Do less."
Wow.
And I was like, "Is that what y'all be? Is that
that's a secret?"
She lets you in.
When your boss won't acknowledge that you're doing good work, when they won't give you raises because they're super cheap, when they won't even give you reviews because that's too much work for them.
Oh,
right. That when I talk about toxic, I mean that toxic. Like, nobody on the team got a review. If I don't get a review, I can't get a raise. I can't get a bonus.
And it keeps you stuck. So you're constantly looking for that external validation. You're not getting it. And
yes, when she said, can you just do less work? I was like, white women, is this what y'all do? It's very confusing.
Yes.
Very confusing.
Yes. So it's kind of revolutionary for us as Black women.
It was.
Yes.
It was. Yeah.
Okay. So you live your life on your own terms. I love what you said. You do not talk to people that you do not want to.
Come on, she means it. Okay, girl. She means it.
You're not in my phone. If I don't find joy in talking to you, you are not in my phone.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And Stephanie, what does your life look like now?
So my life looks different in different parts of the world, which is something that I didn't realize was even a thing, right? There is a Southeast Asia Stephanie who goes outside for every meal because she doesn't like to cook when it's hot. And she might ride a bicycle around to places. She likes to go get her clothes made. There's a Costa Rica Stephanie, especially during rainy season, is in the house. All right. Costa Rica Stephanie has a cashmere robe that she loves to hang out in and be in the house and just look at the view. Right. I didn't even know that there were different versions of me, or even that the me that I wasn't me. It was just a reaction to the surroundings. Right. Sad. I was a very sad person. I didn't realize that I wasn't a sad person. I was just in a sad situation.
Yeah, situational.
Situational. I didn't know that. I didn't know, right? I didn't know that there's a version of me who likes to do these things. There's a version of me who likes to do these things. I didn't know there was a version of me who loves to be in community with people. I thought I was a loner, a loner and a hermit, but I now am. But I also really, really love to be around people, especially Black women. I mean, how awesome is it? So
Yeah.
my life is totally different now. And it's totally different because I got a chance to be in a different location and access different parts of me that I had to squash or, hush, shush. They get to be out in the world, just loud and
Yeah.
happy and joyful because I'm in a different place. Because I don't have a job anymore that tells me what my social life can and can't look like, what my travel life can and can't look like, right? What family events I can and can't go to. Now that I don't have that, I get to be a whole person.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think about just as our ancestors are just present for all of this and just how proud they will be of what you guys are doing. Just liberating Black women that we've had all these shackles for so long about employment and all these other things. But now you are not only living life on your own terms, you're doing it, but you're modeling for other Black women. So I love it. I love it. So can you all share just a little bit for those of you who are not familiar with your decision with moving abroad? How did that lead to you all meeting each other? Because you all are not like friends from like childhood. How did you all even meet?
We both shared on Instagram our sabbaticals and our travels. And Courtney, one woman, followed both of us and booked calls with us or booked time, had conversations with us and said, I think you two should meet. I think you'd like each other. We met. Rashida asked me to be a guest on her YouTube channel. And I was like, thank you. And now we're friends. Okay. And that was it. It was
Through
just
social media.
Yes, through social media. It was
Okay.
just, we get along, we like each other, we have the same care, the same love for Black women. We both like to do things the easiest way. And we got along really well. We started we did a YouTube series. We did a series of videos called 12 Days of Career Breaks, where we interviewed 12 Black women about their career breaks. And that was the makings of our first Exodus Summit, right? The first summit we had was because of the response to those YouTube videos. We're like, okay, there's an audience. There are Black women who are interested in sabbaticals, in moving abroad, in bopping around full time. Let's make a school for them, right? Let's do a conference every year that is like school for Black women who want to do one of these things.
Okay.
But it started when we were strangers, and we actually hosted Exodus Summit 2020, and then we didn't meet until spring of 2021. Like we did a lot of stuff together before we got to meet in the real world.
Wow. I think it's being open to new friendships and new relationships too. So can you all share what is Exodus Summit? So for Black women who've never heard of it, what is Exodus Summit?
Exodus Summit is something different every year, but at the core, it is an event that helps Black women move abroad or take career breaks. This year, Exodus Summit is Move Abroad School. We want women who want to move abroad out of the US, out of the UK, out of the Caribbean, out of a few other places. It's, all depends on you. If you want to move abroad, we want you to come to the summit and get the tools and resources that will help you. Whatever it is that you think is stopping you, we have a woman who has gone through it. You need a remote job, a work from anywhere job, we got a speaker. You need to make sure your money's right and you know what it's going to cost, we got a speaker. Are you worried about healthcare? We got 3 speakers.
Wow.
Worried about moving with your kids? We got 3 or 4 speakers. Worried about moving your parents? We got multiple speakers. Like, we are making sure that whatever it is, that those very common roadblocks are all covered, that women can see the summit calendar, which you can see at Kimani's link right there. When you see the summit calendar, you say, aha, they're going to help me solve a problem, right? It's October 11th through 14th this year. It's all online, 100% online. And women often tell us it's like a family reunion, right? And that doesn't mean that it's challenging for newcomers, right? Like, we love our baby cousins, right? Come in, meet the family, sit down, take your shoes off. It's a good time. It's community. We have women who have been abroad for years who still come back to the summit. and we have women who aren't even sure they're going to go, but still ever going to move abroad, but still keep coming back year after year to the summit.
That's powerful. And can you also speak about the Exodus Summit meetups, which I've been a part of too?
You
Can you
sure
speak,
have.
which I
You
have organized. What
Yeah.
are they? What are the Exodus Summit meetups? And what are the ways that Exodus Summit is a community for Black women and the Facebook group? Share a little bit about that as well.
We thought Exodus Summit was a conference, and the Exodus Summit women told us, no, it's more than that. Okay, this is a community. We do stuff together in the real world. This is more than that. So women inside of Exodus Summit, wherever they are in the world, can throw up a flare and say, hey, I'm here. Who wants to do X with me? Who wants to get coffee, have dinner, go skating, right? Who wants to sit down with me and be in community with me? Sometimes these meetups are in people's hometowns, right? Kimani has had a couple of awesome meetups for us in Los Angeles and Palm Springs and Joshua Tree, right?
Yes.
Sometimes these meetups are abroad, right? There are women who have moved to, I don't know, any place you want to go. There are women inside of Exodus Summit who've moved there, and those meetups are there. I just went to a meetup in Ecuador. Roshida is still at a meetup in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico,
Oh, wow.
right? So women inside of the Exodus Summit community get together. What they know, what they learned, and continue to show is that you're going to make progress when you're in community with other people who are working on this same thing, whether they're right beside you or a couple of steps ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked so much today about other people having a negative response to you saying, I'm gonna do a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who will have an amazingly positive response, who will be so helpful for you. And so we have a responsibility. If we want to do something, we have a responsibility to get in community with other people where that thing is normalized, because you know you're going to hear the negative. You're going to hear the fears and the doubts and the buts. And you really need to feed the faith. You really need to feed the goal. You feed the dream. That's what women do when they get together inside of Exodus Summit. The meetups are amazing. They're worldwide, and listen, and they're without me and Roshida most of the time. we can't be going like that.
And you guys have both shown how Black women could be in community, and they can form like accountability groups. To even help them move. Because I know the lives you guys recently did, helping women move out the country, they had accountability groups, which is so powerful. So this wasn't a question, but I do have this question now, because you guys have both talked about this. In what ways does the current political climate factor into your work?
Listen, it's getting worse. As women who have spent a significant time out of the United States, every time we get back in the United States, people are worse. All right. I don't think it matters. Let me say this. Regardless of who is elected president, the people will continue to get worse. Either they will feel emboldened by the president, or they will feel enraged about who is the president. If the white people at your job get mad when a Black woman gets a promotion, can you imagine? Can you imagine what life will be like inside of the United States if there is a Black and brown woman president? I think it's go time, whether your plan is to leave the United States forever, or for a little while. I think for Black women's sanity, peace of mind, and safety, I think it's really important that we consider being away for a little bit of time. Or maybe once you get away, it might become forever, because you really are going to like your life in a new country. But I think the current political climate makes things more of an emergency. I can understand why people are excited about the prospects of a woman president, but I also don't understand the total abandonment of your plan, because you still got to live with these people. You still gonna have to live. You're gonna have to live with these people.
There's going to be ramifications either way.
Either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We saw what happened when Obama got elected. There wasn't less racism. There wasn't more justice for Black people.
Right.
We weren't not getting killed by the police, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then he's been gone, and we had 4 years of that crazy man, and Biden has not been helping us get in the right direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason to believe. We have historically not seen anything that says America gonna be good when she gets elected. If she gets elected, because listen, I've stopped saying when, because there was no way that clown was gonna be Hillary. Absolutely no way in my mind. That was never gonna happen. And it happened. Right?
Yet it did.
And so I'm still like I think the trauma from that night, from that election night, is still
I
there.
do too. I do too.
I mean, Kamala might win. I don't see I know there's going to be a change. I hope she wins, right? But I'm no longer all in on the outcome, in the sense that, like, I'm not planning my life around her being president. And even if I was, I still wouldn't be in the US.
Okay. Point taken. So if there's a Black woman watching this right now, and this is Sunday evening, I like to do this live on Sundays because this used to be the worst day of the week for me because I had the Sunday scaries. So if there's a Black woman watching this right now, she might have the Sunday scaries because she got to go to work tomorrow. Or maybe she's saying something like, yeah, I hate this job, but I'm going to try to stick it out until retirement, until my child graduates, or this one. This is the one, is just like, or she's saying, oh, they're not going to push me out this job. If she is saying any version of this, what words of wisdom could you say to her, or would you say to her?
I saw Marissa's video on, no, they're not going to run me up out of here. Okay. So very well done. So I think my words to you, friend, my words to you are, you can thrive. You can live a full life. You can actually enjoy it. And you're no less deserving of those things than anybody else. You don't have to live in a life of struggle. You don't have to struggle. Your job shouldn't be struggle. Your money shouldn't be struggle. Your relationship shouldn't be struggle. You can take some actions, and you may be fewer actions than you think away from a life of thriving instead of struggling. If right now you think I've been, listen, that was me. I told you, I sat around with my calculator. Here's how many more days I got to live through this. Here's how many more days you got to wake up, right? If you're in that place today, I hope that you recognize that that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how you are supposed to live. You should be able to enjoy every day. You should be able to enjoy your life. You should have a present, not just a future that you're holding on for, but a present that you love. And it may take fewer steps than you think, right? But it takes steps. It takes action. So
So forward action, right? So don't pause and think that you have to stay in the situation. You have options, but you have to recognize that you have agency, that you can make the changes, and you need to actually make the changes. What about for you, Roshida? What would you say to that Black woman or Black women who might be thinking this way?
I would say that we have to give life room to surprise us, right? To pleasantly surprise us. And we're so infrequently encouraged to do that, right? There are so many ways that life can be negative, but there are glimmers of joy. There in all our lives, there are glimmers of joy. And I always want people to move towards joy. Just move towards your joy.
True.
I want Black women to know that it can be better, right? It can be better. It may take more time or energy than you expect. It may not. Who knows, right? But it can be better, and that moving towards your joy, leaving space for things to go right, and go right in a way that is positive for you,
Mm-hmm.
can create its own miracle.
True. True. So being open to the possibility of things can go right, that we don't always have to struggle, and there's some level of uncertainty. And being okay with saying, you know what, I'm okay with the uncertainty because I would prefer that than living the life I'm living like now. Like you all said, I'm living a nightmare or I'm dying inside. So there are other options for us. So as we're winding down, ladies, can you both please share, in addition to the Exodus Summit, which again, everybody, please register for the Exodus Summit today. So on the screen, I have my affiliate link for the Exodus Summit. It'll also be in the description section. So please come to the Exodus Summit. Also, can you share with everyone what are the other things that you guys offer to help liberate Black women?
Roshida, you know.
I was going to ask, are you asking individually or?
Yeah, individually, yes. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So Stephanie Perry is a house sitter who helps women, specifically Black women, live for free around the world. I talked to a client of hers this morning, someone who's learned from her this morning, who stopped paying rent for a year and a half, did not live, and most of that time was in the most of that time was in the US. Some of it was Mexico and some other places where she was house sitting. She house sat in Morocco, but for a year and a half, gave up her apartment while still being in Texas and saying, house sitting is going to see my way through. Right? She had a $500 budget a month in case something came up and she needed a place to stay. House sitting changed her life and gave her room to experience a lot of things. That's all thanks to Stephanie Perry, because she has been preaching the word of house sitting for forever, right? Anytime I see a Black woman talk about house sitting, I know, but even if it didn't come directly from Stephanie, like even if she doesn't know who Stephanie is, it started with her. I thought, yes, I love telling the story. Yesterday I was at lunch and someone next to me was house sitting, and she told another woman about it. And she sounds like, so that sounds like an amazing way to like travel around the world and not pay for accommodations. And the woman was like, yes. And she told her some resources and things. And I was like, this is the Stephanie Perry influence, because I know the woman I'm sitting next to learned it from Stephanie. Stephanie also teaches about YouTube, right? She's got house sitting school. She teaches about YouTube. She's helped me with my channel, helped you with your channel.
Absolutely.
And she's just a joy, a font of information and a joy.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested in traveling around the world and not paying for accommodations, or if you're interested in growing a YouTube channel and starting or growing a YouTube channel, getting monetization, you should be looking up Stephanie Perry right now. You can find all of her information at vicarious.com.
That was beautiful. Stephanie, did you want to
Wasn't
add
it?
anything to that? Wasn't that
Thank
wonderful?
you. No, perfection. Thank you so much, Roshida. That was so kind. Yes.
That's a good friend. That's a good friend. Roshida, what about
Great.
for you? What kind of services do you offer?
I offer coaching for women who want to take a career break and leave situations that don't serve them to travel around the world. Not all of my clients want to travel, but a lot of them do. And I offer that either in individual coaching, like one-on-one, or I offer it in group coaching. My group coaching is the most popular because it comes with that built-in community, and they're quite lovely. I hung out with 4 or 5 of them this weekend, and one of them I didn't even know was in San Miguel, but she was here checking out the place, and she's coming back in November to do her Canje and get her residency in Mexico.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is what we've done. This is what we've put into the world. The women I work with are so supportive of each other, and it's an ongoing coaching program. So it's over the course of a year, or longer if you want to stay in at this point. But it really helps women be in a constant, consistent community of women who want the same things that they do. And then they get me to answer questions from them. So group coaching, individual coaching. If you want to take a career break or move abroad, I'm your girl.
Awesome.
From Burnout to Bliss is the name of Roshida's coaching program, From Burnout to Bliss. And you can find information at FromBurnoutToBliss.co, FromBurnoutToBliss.co. Women get out the door. Women start from burnout to bliss, often knowing they need, listen, I can't keep going like this, but they don't know what the exit ramp is. They don't know which way they're going to. And the tools, the clarity, the coaching, and the community to find the door, open the door, walk through the door, close that door. Okay.
Right. So I'm going to put all the information in the description section. And what about the Facebook community? Do you all want to talk about that? The Exodus Summit Facebook community?
We sure do. Exodus Summit has a like we said, we thought Exodus Summit was a conference, and then we were like, no, it's a community. Okay. Exodus Summit Facebook community is at exodussummit.com/community. You will love it there. 18,000. So we're about to hit 19,000 Black women inside the community who share their experiences with their career breaks, their moves abroad, their nomadic life, their house sitting. Women share what steps they're on, what progress they're making, what wins, what stumbling blocks they find, right? To make it a little bit easier for the next woman, right? Dr. Kimani calls her channel and her business Lifting as We Climb. That is a thing Black women are the best at. It's the thing that we do like nobody else in the world. We pull up while we're moving up, we also reach back. And that's what happens in the Exodus Summit community. We're so pleased is not the word. We're so glad, happy, joyful to have you in Exodus Summit sister. In your part of this movement, right? This is liberation work. This is freedom talk. And we're so glad to have you inside of the community, and so glad to be here with you today.
Awesome. And just briefly, again, remind everybody, who is the Exodus Summit for, and how do you determine if somebody is a Black woman?
Oh, we don't. We don't. So it's the honor system, but it's also when most of the summit happens in the way it's streamed in the way this is being streamed right now. We have we have some parts of it that are more interactive. We have some Zoom calls for people who have the all access pass. And fortunately, every year it's just been Black women. There's one year where there's a Black woman with a Black man. And this is part of the reason that we limit it to Black women, was he got on there and he started telling the women what they were doing wrong and what they needed to do. The way they booted him out and told him he needed to go somewhere else. I don't know if the woman had to leave too, but we weren't in the room when it happened, but it was reported back to us that so-and-so had her man there and he wasn't acting right. So we made him leave.
Wow.
Right. It's because every member of Exodus Summit who's been around for at least 1 year, if you've been around since the last summit, you know who we are, you know what we stand for, you know what we want. We want a loving community. And so even if it was a woman, why are you here telling other women what they're doing is wrong?
Right. Why are you coming to our space telling us what to do?
You're a man. You weren't even invited to this party. Why are you here?
Right.
Telling us what we should and should not do with our lives. This don't make sense.
No.
And so the woman in that room took it upon themselves to exit him out, and that's how it works, right?
Yes.
Like if you buy a ticket and you're not a Black woman, we won't know unless you turn your camera on.
Yeah.
Right?
I was actually referencing the Exodus Summit Facebook community.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Facebook tells us, sometimes Facebook will tell you this is a man, right? So if Facebook will do a little bit of the filtering, and then we go through one by one. Every single person who requests to join Exodus Summit, we look at their profile, right? Try to decide if they're a Black woman. Usually it's as easy as looking at the profile photo, but a lot of y'all love a profile pic of a sunset or a flower, right? Or Kamala Harris. And so then we just go peek over in your profile. If we can't tell, if it appears that you or may not be a Black woman, we'll decline you. And then you can always request, right? Re-request. Some people have their Facebook settings so private that when you go over to their profile, you see absolutely nothing. And so we have to decline those, or, have people who have no profile photo, they just have that little outline ghost image, we decline those. But if you request again with a different photo or something, we'll go back, look at you one more time. It's a wonderful the effort. I know Black women don't really mess with Facebook like that, but it's worth being on Facebook for. It's one of the only things I do on Facebook. I do that, and then I go to what my mom has tagged me in, and I untag myself. That's pretty much all I go to Facebook for. Exodus Summit is worth being on Facebook for.
Yeah, so then that's the way you meet other Black women, is through that community, right? So, ladies, okay, I just want you guys to tell a little bit more about the tiers of Exodus Summits, because there's all access pass, and there's another one, there's bonus sessions. So I just want everybody to come. So can you tell a little bit about what are the different levels? What are the bonus sessions?
So we have 2 levels. We have a weekend pass and an all access pass. Weekend pass gets you everything in the core summit. And the all access pass gets you, and it's spelled out online. All access pass gets you everything in the core summit, so everything in the weekend pass, plus bonus sessions. We have a bonus session about handling your money before you move abroad, getting remote work, schooling your children,
putting your kids' schools plan together.
Yes, putting the plan to get them into schools and figuring out what school is right for them. And then the all access pass also gets accountability groups. We're going to have breakout rooms that are based on people's interests, and the all access pass gets access to those.
Awesome. Okay.
Those breakout rooms are those breakout rooms are usually the makings of accountability groups, right? So you go into the breakout room, you meet people, and then somebody in there, the note takers, somebody in there will decide when y'all are going to meet again. And that's usually how the accountability groups form. Sometimes the accountability groups are based on where you're going, where you want to go in the world. The accountability groups can be based on where you are right now. The accountability groups can be based on your special, like the thing that you need to solve in order to move abroad. Like maybe you have some health care challenges. Maybe you have dogs and you want to travel with your dogs, or maybe you have a spouse, right? Those special things that we also need to work through or solve or whatever, those often become accountability groups where you meet whenever y'all decide. I'd like Dr. Kimani just said, I just met up with, I had some of the members of the Playa del Carmen accountability group from 2021 on my channel just yesterday. And that accountability group, those women moved to Mexico. Like those women got to Mexico. I don't know if you would ever see that kind of success rate without accountability partnerships, without regular check-ins, without it's going to be okay, right? One of the women's house, Sandra's house sale fell through 2 times before it actually went through, right? And I can't imagine getting through something like that and not throwing your hands up and saying, forget it, without accountability.
That must be a sign.
Right?
Yeah.
Her accountability partners were like, it's going to be okay. This happened. I know this happened to so-and-so before, or don't worry, here's some words I can give you to help you making progress on this thing. Those accountability partnerships that form from the salons and breakout rooms are so powerful and beautiful and wonderful.
Yes, I agree. So, ladies, we're about to wind down. I just want to read a few comments from the chat. Everybody's saying hello to both of you. There's a question. I'm a senior retired and working part-time, tutoring elementary school students. I'm considering leaving. Are there any realistic options for seniors that I guess you could suggest?
Friend, so it depends on your budget, depends on whether you like or don't like, but I think you're asking about about a country or a city, right? Is that right?
Yeah, options for seniors.
Okay, listen.
But in Exodus, you talk about so many seniors who are like living their best lives around the world.
Yeah, some of the women, Panama, there's some countries that are that have really opened their doors to seniors. Rashida's session in Exodus Summit is actually on getting residency in another country. And one of the things you'll learn about is like, there are countries that have visas for what they call pensioners, visas for pensioners. There are places that are opening their doors to senior citizens. And once you get there, they're going to treat you so nice. Panama has a visa for seniors who move there, who have some sort of like social security or pension or monthly income. Once you get there, airfare within the country is like, I think 50% off or a lot off. The
Wow.
bus is half price, right? The movies are half price or more. So there are places in the world that are open their doors to seniors, that are more accessible, that have amazing healthcare. Panama is known for having very good healthcare. So there are probably more places that, out of the places that women inside of our community love, there are more places that are good for seniors than there are places that are not so good for seniors. So get yourself involved in Exodus Summit, and then just be listening. Go to some meetups, hear what people have to say, and you can find a place that is going to work out so well for you. But so
Yeah.
Panama is the first thing that comes to my mind, just because I know like they're kind of recruiting senior citizens.
Wow. Okay. So look at your options. Another comment. Hello, ladies. I'm planning on submitting my resignation this month. Ooh, excellent. It is amazing to me to see how emotionally attached I've become to having a job. Yes, it's exactly what we've been talking about. We're just saying, recognize how much a job has become a part of our identities, but that's social programming. But once you recognize the social programming, you can work through that. So I'm glad you're able to recognize that. I've heard so many great things about you, Stephanie. My ears are opened. How do you even start living abroad? I cannot picture it. Well, I think that's why you need to come to Exodus Summit so you can find out ways to work through those fears or questions, all those things. They listed down all the speakers are going to have there. It's fabulous. I went last year. It's fabulous. So please go to the Exodus Summit so you can have those questions addressed. I can relate to that. Absolutely. We're ushered into helping roles. So true. That's really ridiculous. Glad you took a year off. Let's see. Thanks for having this. I love the simplicity of both of your moves. We already talked about the worst case scenario. Let's see. Wow, so true, Roshida. Some people don't like to see you happy. That's real. Oh, my friend Colette Elizabeth. Hey, friend. Really enjoying this conversation between three of my favorite people. Oh, you're so sweet. Toxic versus nurturing relationships, right? Night and day. Let's say it's already getting worse in my job. Yes, it's not going to get better. I cannot stress that enough. If your job is already toxic and you recognize it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. Okay. Fighting a battle with the workplace is not worth it. It's time to get off the struggle bus pronto. Write down empowering scriptures and meditate. Joy, joy, joy. I love it. That's right. Mindset shift. That's part of the meditations or reciting affirmations, which may be empowering scriptures. Just joining, but looking forward to the recording. Good. I'm glad you're going to watch the recording. Meditations, affirmations, gratitude, and prayers always. Being in community with these beautiful souls gave me the encouragement, strength, and support to leave a toxic job in 2021. Yes, that's right. Thank you so much, Exodus Summit. I'm going to post this. That was beautiful. Thank you, Colette. Okay.
Thank you, Colette.
Let's see. Community, this could be wonderful. You're right. Sundays can be anxious for some. Thank you so much for this. Again, everybody register for the Exodus Summit. You don't even go here, right? For the guy coming in. Thank you for all this powerful and insightful discussion. Great discussion. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, register for the Exodus Summit. Any last words, Stephanie or Roshida, before we end this conversation today?
Kimani, thank you so much for having us on. Thank you very much for being such a light in this movement. And thank you for showing us yourself what it's like on the other side, right? What it's like to leave a toxic job, to decide for yourself that you're worth the effort, right? That you're worth it. And then for walking through this new door and bringing other Black women with you. We appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Kimani.
Thank you. Everyone, please give this video a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know to suggest this video to other Black women. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And turn the notification bell so you know when I'm going live or record a video. I will put all of Stephanie and Rashida's information in the description section. Again, register for the Exodus Summit, use my affiliate link, and please share this video with at least 2 other Black women, okay? So everyone, thank you so much. Stephanie and Roshida, if you guys can stay on for a moment. Bye, everybody. See you later.